There was a boy who lived a little horror story. His mom and dad were always at work, so no one was watching him. The children from the lower grades were very afraid of him, as the boy often bullied them and also took money from them. But most of all, the boy annoyed one girl. This girl had black hair and the same black eyes, and therefore she was nicknamed Gypsy. Or maybe she really was a gypsy. She had no parents, and she was brought to school by an old woman whose back was bent like a question mark. No one knew what the girl had done to displease this boy, but no one stood up for her, because the girl had no friends at all at school. Once, the boy's parents were even called to the director, after the boy tripped the girl, and she fell and bled her nose. But it didn't help. On the contrary, the boy began to drive the girl even more. Once he even pushed the girl right in front of the old woman. And when the old woman began to scold him loudly, he only laughed, because he knew that she would not be able to keep up with him. "Wait," the old woman said then, "I know who's going to punish you." The next night, the boy had a dream. He and several other children were lying tied up on the stone floor. The boy was scared, but he couldn't figure out why. He turned his head, trying to see who he couldn't see, but he could hear his heavy breathing and eerie whistling laughter. The boy also saw a large wooden table stained with red and black paint. And behind the table was the black maw of the furnace, where the flames roared. It's not paint, the boy suddenly realized, but blood. It was a terrible dream, but it was only a dream that was immediately forgotten in the morning. However, the next night the boy found himself in the same dream again. And he even began to guess where the blood on the table came from and why the fire was lit in the oven. The boy stayed at home all day. He was very scared. He tossed and turned for a long time at night, afraid to fall asleep, but when he fell asleep, his fear became even greater, because he finally saw the one who was breathing so heavily. He was huge and fat. His gnarled hands covered unhealed, oozing wounds, sewn with coarse threads. There was a mask on his face, but the boy immediately recognized those eyes behind the mask. He saw such black eyes in a gypsy girl and an old woman who came to school for her. The fat man looked at the children lying tied up on the floor and began to count loudly. "People, animals, I'm nobody. Do you think that's all?" When the boy woke up in the morning, he dressed quickly and immediately ran to school. He realized who could save him. He will ask for forgiveness, he will beg them. He waited outside the school for 3 hours before it became clear that the gypsy girl would not come. So the old woman won't come either. And at night he found himself in the same dream again. The fat man was counting his number again, pointing at the children lying on the floor. "People, animals, I'm nobody. Do you think that's all? Sticks, stakes, darkness. No one needs me." The next day, the boy tried to find out where the gypsy girl and the old woman lived. But the children looked at the boy and could not understand anything. None of them knew such a girl. Even the teachers shook their heads negatively, and the director himself could not remember that he had called the boy's parents to school. And the boy's parents remembered nothing. And when the boy told them about the terrible dream, they just shrugged and said that the dreams were not real, and nothing would happen to him. The boy lay in bed all night and tried not to fall asleep, but even when he lay with his eyes open, he could hear the fat man continuing his counting. "People, animals, I'm nobody. Do you think that's all? Sticks, stakes, darkness. Nobody needs me. Rats, worms, life is a game. I fell into nowhere." When it began to get light outside the window, the voice subsided. The boy barely got out of bed. He was very sleepy, but he knew that he had to find the gypsy girl. "I have to go back to school. We need to ask the other kids. Maybe someone will remember. And if they don't remember, then the boy will go around the whole city, ask everyone, but he will find the girl and the old woman equally. Because he already knew who the little count would point to in his dream." The boy's parents went to work. And no one saw that the boy fell asleep sitting on the bed and pulling one pant